Hey everyone, me back again, here to talk about things that I think would be cool and fun for Halloween Horror Nights. Today, obviously, from, I don't know, below, above, whatever, the title, would be video games coming back to Halloween Horror Nights. Uh, Before we get into that, just wanted to say a few quick things. First, obviously, like every person on YouTube asks you, please, like, comment, subscribe. If you like the video, share it with someone that's, your friend. If you hate the video, share it with your enemies. If you're indifferent about the video, I got nothing for you. But, I'm open to good natured criticism. Let me know what you think. If you agree with my ideas, if you don't. I mean, from my last video, a lot of folks seem to have pretty strong, like, agreeing opinions, whatever, with what I thought would be kind of a good idea for this year's event. So, you know, whatever. Um, Second, since I'm already talking about that video, I did want to say thank you. Again, I got a pretty warm reception for it, so I'm gonna in depth thank people later. Obviously, some people are like not here to listen to me thank them, so whatever. And final little thing before we get into video games. Idle Threat. They are a band local to Orlando. They are awesome. If you're coming to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando, there's a strong chance you'll have the ability to go to an Idle Threat show. And if you have that chance, you should take it. The music's great. Everyone in the band is a genuinely awesome person. The live shows kick ass. So check them out. They got obviously merchandise. Oh, I mean, right there you can see they got stickers, shirts. If you don't like shirts, they got shorts. If you don't like shorts, okay, they got flip flops. If you don't like flip flops, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what's it? If you're, suffering from a receding hairline like me, they got hats. And if you don't like hats, then I got nothing for you. But definitely check them out. They're awesome. So, all of that aside now, let's grab something to drink. Today I have from 1010 Brewing in Orlando, East West IPA. It's I mean, it looks cool, but I already know that it's awesome because I've had it a couple of times. So, whatever. Grab yourself a drink and let's start talking about video games. Before we really dive in, the reason I thought about kind of making this video is I realized that there hasn't been a video game, like actual video game franchise. I'm not counting an arcade, even though I like that. There hasn't been much of a video game presence in specifically Universal Orlando. We're not counting Hollywood. I don't know if there's been video games since. We're not talking about Singapore or Japan. We're focusing on Orlando. But since Halloween Horror Nights 23 in 2013, that was the last year that had like a franchise, a video game franchise presence. It was Resident Evil. And the year before that, it had Silent Hill. So I kind of just wanted to kind of throw some games out that I thought would be a good fit of this. Let me just be as abundantly clear as I was in the last one. None of this is confirmed, even speculated. Not a single person in the community is talking about these coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year or any year in the future for that matter. It's just 100% me throwing everything at the wall, and if something sticks, cool. So just full transparency with you guys. This is just me spitballing. There's nothing to back these claims. It is 100% speculation. And with that, let's start with the first video game on my list. I got my script here that I will probably at some point completely ignore, because I do that a lot. Whatever. But first game up is Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, so as you just saw, Five Nights at Freddy's is kind of like your basic survival horror type game. Um, if you're kind of coming from an older crowd like me, before you roll your eyes, let me just kind of walk you through it, and maybe you'll kind of feel the same way I do about this. Because when I was starting the planning for this video, pulling together the script, and just doing research, I had this game kind of towards like the bottom of my likelihood possible games to be at the event, and since then it has jumped to, I mean, as much as it hurts me to say, probably the number one likely of the three games I'm going to be talking about today. Just to give you a little background on it, it started in about 2014 as just your kind of basic indie game, and just from its popularity, it went from basic indie game to being on all major consoles and having multiple sequels. I believe the most recent one came out last year. But aside from video games, I mean, there have been movies very clearly influenced by it. I mean, the Nick Cage movie Willy's Wonderland, which you should watch. It's great. Say what you will about Nick Cage, he has become a B-movie legend at this point. That's another conversation for another time. There are movies, there's music. I mean, again, we're talking about like nerdcore rap, which another conversation, another time. We'll talk about that another time. But it has achieved insane popularity. You could find merchandise, and I'm not just talking like action figures, but you can find t-shirts for Five Nights at Freddy's at Target. You know, like certain niche things like this you could find like Hot Topic, because that's what that appeals to. But if your franchise is being available, I should say, in major retailers like Target and Walmart, it's definitely something that's recognizable. And of all the video games on my list, it's the only one that has that brand name recognition that could pull in, I would like to think, a significant crowd. You know, some people didn't like my, I mean, it's an opinion, whatever. I mean, you don't have to like it, but my feeling that Halloween Horror Nights should always have something to appeal to a casual crowd, to pull them in. I mean, these last few years we've had Ghostbusters, Beetlejuice, we were gonna have Billie Eilish, and you know, I'm sure there's more that's just kind of escaping me at the moment, but something that brings in that casual crowd to who might not, you know, normally want to come to Halloween Horror Nights. Something like this that could pull in casual people and potentially make them return guests to the park is, I mean, for me it's a no-brainer, because, you know, it might not be for you, it might not be for me, and that's fine. I mean, in these last few years, how many houses have there been in the park? We can get away with not going into one house. I mean, full transparency, I went to Beetlejuice once. I didn't love it. I like Beetlejuice well enough, but it wasn't for me. Whatever. But it always had a long line, and it was doing what it's there for, which is to pull people in. And to have that money coming into the park, you gotta think long term. That's gonna be able to be taken and sunk into the houses that, more hardcore people like us, I will lump myself with you, um, are into. The production will skyrocket, even though it's hard to imagine it going any further than it already is. So, I mean, just to give you some idea, just from like a very basic search just now, um, like YouTuber, video game guy, Markiplier, whatever. I mean, he's got 32 million subscribers, which is insane. And his latest video game playthrough, whatever, of Five Nights at Freddy's has 10 million views. That you can't. None of these other games that I'm about to talk about in a minute come close. There's one game that came out in 2008, which I will talk about next. Its trailer, I checked maybe like last night, and the trailer maybe has half that in views. So, and I mean, granted, I'm sure not everyone there is, or in his views, is there because of Five Nights at Freddy's. But, they might just be there because of his personality. I mean, he's a funny guy. So, but still, you gotta consider 10 million people know about that franchise, at least on the low end, I'm sure. And having that name at Halloween Horror Nights, I mean, it just seems like it makes perfect sense to me. And I mean, as I showed you with the video games, or the playthrough stuff, whatever, it kind of, I think it would be cool. I mean, the only one I've ever played was the initial one in 2014, but just seeing how the franchises evolved and the different characters and stuff, just imagine going through kind of like your Chuck E. Cheese that's abandoned, and all the mascots and stuff are trying to get you. I mean, it's a video game built on jump scares, and what is Halloween Horror Nights but jump scares? It seems like it's the perfect fit. I mean, there's so much more I could talk about with this one particular game specifically. I won't, because it is just massive amounts of lore, story to it. I mean, I tried to watch a video that was talking about the game, and it was almost 3 hours. And I mean, I don't have the free time to commit to marathoning that, but just to give you an idea, there's that much information about the game and its background that I'm sure the people in creative at Halloween Horror Nights can knock it out of the park and make it like must see. So again, I think it's something that should be there. Moving on from Five Nights at Freddy's, we're going to talk about two more games, and they're ones that I have more personal hands-on time with. They were games that I played in high school. They were games that I sought out as, they kind of appealed to me, a spooky kid, as I was called. These I'll kind of be able to elaborate on more and make a better pitch beyond just the financial, getting people into the park thing. The next one I want to talk about is also, unfortunately, it breaks my heart to say it, but probably the one that has the least likely chance of being there. And that's Dead Space. Now, before I even go any further, I'm going to play you the trailer that I saw in 2008 that hooked me. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just kind of want you to see just part of it to kind of get you in the mindset of what the game is like. and then we'll talk more.
Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when the nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle all the night.
Okay, so as you just saw, this game is prime sci-fi horror, in my opinion. You play as Isaac Clarke on the Ishimura. I'm not going to go deep into video game detail just because of actually the only reason that this game is on this list, and that's because it's getting a remake. In They don't have an exact date, but late 2022, which could potentially put it in proximity with Halloween Horror Nights to make it work. I know I'm grasping at straws with that one, but I love this game so much. Take a second. If you need to close this video, whatever, just go to the wiki, Google Dead Space, and just look at the necromorphs, because that's what those things are called, if you were wondering. The design on them is insane. There is not a doubt in my mind, if you made this house a reality, it would easily be the blood and guts house of the year. There's no way that it couldn't be. You just saw in that trailer that it is violent, it is gory, it's over the top and just body horror nonsense. So, I would love to see it. Like, it was an amazing game when it came out, and that's kind of also one of the arguments against it, because, like I said, it came out in 2008, and 2 more games, proper games. I know there was a Wii game as well, but the last game for the franchise came out in 2013, and we're in 2022 right now. There hasn't been any kind of re-releases, collections, anything that I know of since then. So, just as much as that breaks my heart to say, there's a lot going against it potentially being at the event. I'm just really leaning on that remake, desperately hoping that it just pulls in just enough people to really warrant it being there. Maybe even not this year's event, next year's event. Again, it's very slim, incredibly slim, but it would be so cool just to kind of get to experience, just going through the Ishimura, which is the ship in the game, and seeing the marker, going and just being face to face with necromorphs, and just going through everything. It's, again, incredibly unlikely, and that kills me to say it, but that's kind of why it's just in the middle, because there's not much I can add to that. It's, like I said, the most grasping at straws argument for this game to be there, but if they made it happen, there's not a doubt in my mind it would be the house of the year. No contest. It would be incredibly hard to top that, just at least for me personally. So I guess we'll move on to the next game. So I had to open the other beer because the next game that we're going to talk about is Bioshock.
A man has a choice. I chose the impossible. I built a city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the great will not be constrained by the small, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality. I chose to build rapture. But my city was betrayed by the weak. So I ask you, my friend, if your life were the prize, would you kill the innocent? Would you sacrifice your humanity? We all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
Okay, so as you just saw, Bioshock is this insane underwater sci-fi horror over-the-top action game. It's just perfect, honestly. It's one of my favorite games, like Dead Space, but this one has a stronger argument. And before I get to the reasoning behind that, let me just kind of elaborate just on the game. The first game came out in 2007. Since then, let's see, 2 came out in 2010, and Bioshock Infinite came out in 2013. But where this has a stronger case versus, say, Dead Space is that they had the collection released, and it's consistently been available for anyone to kind of pick up if they've never had the chance to play it. So there's already one points for it that goes against Dead Space. Again, that hurts me to say, but whatever. But beyond just that, this franchise has such a deep lore that I could, if I wanted to, make an entire video just Bioshock lore. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to dive super deep into that, I promise. But we'll touch on it a little bit just to help things along. But the reason that this game makes the list is actually because of a partnership that Halloween Horror Nights is kind of working with right now with Netflix. Bioshock is in the process of having a movie made. And just as of this recording, there's no details. There's nothing. There's no release date. There's no director. There's no story. There's no cast. So this definitely wouldn't make it to 31. Obviously, there's not a chance that could happen. But when it's released, if Halloween Horror Nights keeps up its relationship with Netflix, I feel like this one behind Five Nights at Freddy's has probably the strongest argument to be there at Halloween Horror Nights as a house. It could work as a scare zone, but personally, I think it works best as a house. Now, obviously, if Halloween Horror Nights was to run with a house based on Bioshock, it would be built around whatever Netflix makes the movie about. But I just kind of wanted to expand, kind of rant, ramble, whatever you want to call it, on the just multiple different options that they have to work with. One option that is on the table is to just kind of build a house around the early life of Rapture, when Frank Fontaine introduces plasmids into the mix. It's kind of leaning a little more on the visitor's knowledge of the video game. I'm sure it's, again, kind of up in the air, whatever the movie's about, but just to fill you in, Frank Fontaine introducing plasmids is just kind of like someone introducing drugs to society, and everyone getting hooked because it's giving them this incredible power, and it eventually devolves into essentially a civil war between just the regular people of Rapture and these splicers. So that's one option on the table. Another, just staying with the Frank Fontaine story, is you could just go into just a laboratory with him and his doctors, Dr. Suchong and Bridget Tenenbaum, in the process of experimenting on people to see how someone would react to plasmids, and just kind of it being this crazy laboratory. I know it kind of condenses the story down to just a laboratory instead of the larger scale that is Rapture, but that is just an option on the table. Another one that they could follow is just, Dr. Steinman, who, full transparency, I read the books and I played the games a lot, so Dr. Steinman is someone who believes that he is being talked to by gods to alter how people look, and he is just insane, an insane plastic surgeon. Just imagine that story without me, elaborating too much. So that is something else that they could run with. They could go with the artist Sander Cohen. I don't want to, again, go insane with elaborating on details about these characters, their backstory, especially not knowing what this movie's going to be about. But there's just so much lore, so many characters that this house could follow, and it's, again, that standing relationship between Netflix and Halloween Horror Nights. I mean, they've had Stranger Things, they've had Haunting of Hill House, so the relationship is there. Again, like I said, there's no information about when the movie will come out. There's no real information about it at all, other than that it's happening. So I think in a year, 2 years, whenever it comes out, and if it receives a strong reaction beyond Five Nights at Freddy's, I think this is the strongest possibility for a video game based house for us to see at Halloween Horror Nights again. So keep your fingers crossed, and I guess we'll see. Now, I did want to move on a little bit past the video games at Halloween Horror Nights topic. I tried to elaborate best I could, but I did want to just kind of speak directly to the people who are watching this, and I wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, genuinely thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, whatever. Um, I was not anticipating my last video to be any kind of like, it's a success for me. You know, I have at the time of recording 130 subscribers, and that last video had 800 views, and that's the most viewed video on my channel. And it's crazy to me that anyone would be interested in my opinion at all. And again, I just wanted to say thank you. Like, it truly means a lot to me that, you know, you took the time to watch whatever I'm here rambling about. You know, I'm not going crazy with editing, and it's 100% just a ramble. I mean, I put together a script and don't stick to it. And I'm sure it doesn't help the video. I don't think it hinders it too much, but you know, I truly do appreciate you guys. I also want to take a moment to say that without getting too personal, things in my life are changing for the better. I know for a while there I kind of fell off. That last video was a month, 2 months in the past. And without getting too detailed on my personal life, I got a new job. And in the last week or so, it's kind of made my entire mental health take 180. And I feel creative again. I feel like I can really double down and come back to this with more fun ideas. So I would like to ideally make a video a week, ranting about Halloween Horror Nights, things I'd like to see, things I wouldn't like to see, just whatever. But I wanted to just let you know that, you know, I am going to try my best to be a little more consistent. Things have changed for the better, and I'm excited about it. So I guess that's about it for me for this one. One more time, thank you guys so much. Again, you know, like, comment, subscribe, tell me I'm an idiot, whatever. But, you know, stay groovy.